Hello, you fucks. Welcome to John Solo's Beer Brigade. I'm John Solo. This is my good buddy, Andrew Gray. So, Andrew, you're telling me you are, in fact, for the first time in I don't know how many years, not doing GRL this year?
Yeah, I'm not able to go to GRL this year. I don't know what it is, but that weekend everything is happening on that weekend. I could have had the choice of like four different things on that weekend. And I'm I'm booked into the Moonlight and Magnolias conference in Atlanta that particular weekend. I'm one of the featured speakers for the entire conference. I'm
Oh, yeah.
so yeah, I'm the lunch speaker. I'm doing all kinds of panels and classes and all kinds of stuff. Basically, I couldn't turn it down. They paid for everything.
Well, yeah, there's actually, you mentioned that too, and you mentioned a good point because one of our buddies, Kurt Graves, you know, Kurt, he's actually
Hmm.
doing a convention in Chicago, I think the week before or something like that. There's quite a few of them going on around this time. So,
Oh
and
yeah,
it doesn't affect the fan base as much. Or you know,
no.
the people that are going to GRL that are in the readers group are typically going specifically for the LGBTQ plus stuff, and this is the biggest one in the
Mhm.
country. But for professionals such as you and me, there was a lot of other different conventions that we hit, and this is you know, there's more of them out there, and you kind of got to go where you got to
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Um,
The following weekend, I've got a conference in Alexandria, Virginia.
really. So
Yep,
you're not going to be far
yep.
away. Although Virginia is a very big state. I don't know where's Alexandria as
Right
opposed to
across from
Virginia.
DC. So I get to. I'm going to. I'll drive,
Okay, yeah.
which is part of the reason I'm doing it is that I can drive.
I don't blame you one bit.
But yeah, it's I've got goodness grief. Let's see. A a I've got book lovers next month in
Mhm.
Houston. All I can say about that is I'm going to melt. Houston in August. I'm just going to melt.
Yeah, no doubt.
Um, I've got a few small book events in September. Then I'm taking my husband on a cruise because he deserves it. Then I've got Moonlight and Magnolias in October. I've got this other conference in October, and then I think I'm done for the year. And it's like, holy cow!
That's a lot. I'm only doing one this year. So you are back on the circuit again. I remember from before the COVID thing hit, you were hitting at least three or four of these a year, right?
Yeah, I was doing three or four a year, and I'm back to three or four a year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, it all depends, but there are some really good conferences, and I seem to now have gotten into. I mean, there were years when I was doing a conference a month,
Hmm. I remember you talking
and
about that.
there was one year that I did three conferences in July, one in Europe, one in Tampa, and then one in New York. And I literally went from conference to conference to conference. I came home just enough to unpack my luggage and do laundry, and then I was off to the next conference.
Now, are you taking to the one in Atlanta? Are you doing your normal deal with the table? You're taking your books and all that?
I'll have my books, and
Yeah.
I'm doing that, but I'm also the Friday lunch speaker, and then I'm giving a Q&A session where they can ask the guy in the room or ask the gay guy in the room. I'm going to do a session on time management, based and subtitled "How I Wrote a Million Words in a Year and Lived to Tell About It." Um, I'm also doing a panel, so yeah, they're going to keep me really busy.
That is fantastic. I know guys that are newer into the industry and some that are in our genre and gals that are in our genre, but also a couple guys and gals that are in different genres, specifically urban fantasy. And they have actually, this is the way they started their career and jump started it was the first 5 years they were road dogs and they spent time at these
Hmm.
conventions with a box of books and pitching their wares basically, and that's how they got a name for themselves. One in specific that I'm thinking of, I'm doing a show tomorrow with Gail Martin or Morgan Bryce in this instance, and she is very good friends with one of my good buddies, John Hartness. John Hartness writes a series that I narrate called Bubba the Monster Hunter, and John Hartness is not only incredibly LGBTQ plus friendly. He has a publishing company called Falstaff Books, and they actually are starting to get into this a bit more. But on top of that, he did this. He was a road dog. It's how he started his career. He carried a box of books from convention to convention and got his name out there, and now he's one of the biggest authors in that particular industry. It's amazing. So, for any new authors out there, this is one way to do it. Do you think
The
that?
hard part is that
Mhm.
now with the way conventions are or conferences are, you have to be invited
I didn't even think
because
about that.
they're the day of the huge convention where they open everything to everybody is largely gone. You can't
Hmm.
afford to do them. So conventions all have limits, and if you're an author and you want to be invited to a lot of the conventions you want to go, you have to be invited.
I didn't even think about that. I suppose,
But
like, from my viewpoint as a narrator, it's the same deal. Now, I could go as a reader, obviously, but to be
mhm,
invited as a narrator to GRL and to EPC and all those, I had to be invited. So I suppose it's the same way.
yeah, it
Um,
goes the same way with a lot of authors. You have to be invited. Not all of them are that way, but a lot of them are.
it'd be nice if
And
they invited you and then gave you a free ticket. That'd be really cool, wouldn't
well, they invite you to register, which
it?
is,
Yeah,
I mean, there are some conferences where it's like all I want's an invitation, and
yeah, I get
I
it.
can't get an invitation to register.
I how long did it now when you're saying that this didn't used to be the case, since I've been doing conventions, 2019, I did my first one with you. But prior to that, I'd never done any conventions. So before that, you didn't have to be invited. You could just contact them and say I'd like to be a part of, and they would sign you up. Is that correct?
And a lot of them, you I like to be a part of it. I fit into your group because of this, and this, and and yeah, you would then yeah, come on in. We'd love to have you. So on. I mean, I used to go to conferences with five, six, seven, 800 people. That's
That,
becoming rare. I mean, there's only one that I go to that's anywhere near that big.
there's one in Vegas apparently that is that large, and it's a romance convention. Um, and it's not specifically
I,
LGBTQ plus, but it's a
right?
romance convention.
No,
Um,
most of them aren't, and those are the ones I really want to go to.
Yeah. Now, it's hard for me, so maybe you can help me, but also any other. Uh, uh, let me give you some background here. A lot of people that watch our videos and a lot of people that watch my videos on my channel are authors. Some new and budding, some that have been around a while, but we're all helping each other in the community. It's people helping people. I've found it hard to quantify. Um, I know that I get a big bonus from doing conventions, but I don't have a box of books to sell. I find it harder to quantify the results. I can kind of tell because I know, well, I booked 2 clients out of this convention, so I know that I got that. But other than that, it seems to be more top of the mind advertising. Are you able to quantify it beyond the sale of books, as far as effect on your career?
No.
Yeah, I
I
wish
mean,
you had something better to tell me, but I think that's
I
very
I
true.
mean I mean, there have ban conferences where I've sold enough books to pay for the conference or pay for a good share of the conference.
Mhm.
I mean, there was a conference I went to in 2019 just before COVID that I sold enough books because I was able to sell them myself that I paid for the plane ticket and the conference fee.
There you go.
Okay? But it didn't pay for the hotel,
Mhm.
but that's rare, and I don't look at it that way. If I meet people and people meet me and they like me, then maybe they go home and say, "I'm going to buy a book." And they go on Amazon and they download a book.
Mhm.
And and then people, "Oh, I like your stuff." And they buy more, and maybe I'll get a note or something. It's all about meeting people and letting them meet you and see who you are.
Mhm.
And always putting on the best face you can. If something is wrong, you deal with it very privately, never publicly. You don't want to get a reputation. Remember, everything is seen by other people. It's one of those things. You basically, from the time you walk into the conference to the time you leave, you are on stage, and you better remember it.
This is my entire life is preparatory for that at this point. I've been thinking about this the
It's
last couple
everything.
months. Did you know that probably 35 to 40 hours, easily 30 to 35, and I would say closer to 40 some weeks of my life is on camera. It's
Yeah.
and that's not just like walking around the neighborhood. That's me sitting right here in this seat on camera. It is amazing, and perhaps 15 of that, I would say maybe let's not exaggerate. Maybe 10 of that is probably on YouTube every week at this point. It's amazing. So I don't have any. Now it's interesting that you say, remember, if you have to deal with something, if something is wrong, deal with it privately. Um, you and I have seen these things a couple times, but you've been doing this a while longer than me as far as the conventions go. Do you have a good story? Like, have you seen something at a convention that is shareable now? Because it was public when it happened. Something good that you can give an experience for here to help some people out to
Oh
know
my
what not to do?
word. Um, well, there was an author,
Hmm.
and I'm not going to give this author's name. I was at a conference on the East Coast.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, this particular author is a huge author. Everybody knows this author's name
Hmm.
in one way or another. And when I mean everybody, I mean if you read romance, you know this author.
Hmm.
Okay? This author was the lunch speaker at the conference. Okay. So it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday conference, and she was either the Friday or the Saturday lunch speaker. I want to say the Friday lunch speaker.
Hmm.
And so you have a room of 400 people. You've got the clink of the silverware and the glassware, and everybody's eating their salad, and the food is being distributed. And then this author gets up and starts giving the talk. And the talk is about how stories are everywhere. And then she tells a story about how stories are everywhere. And this particular story takes place in New Orleans. And it was a story about a man whose wife had died, but they did not find out for 7 years later. The tip off was that he had been buying gobs and gobs of makeup. So basically, I always refer to this story as necrophilia for lunch. So as the story goes on and everybody gets the point of it, you can hear the plates being pushed away. 400 people pushing their plates away because they're losing.
Oh,
They are losing their appetite.
that's fantastic.
So you got 400 people that will always remember this particular author delivering necrophilia for lunch.
That reminds me of me learning that women don't like poop jokes, but
No, nope,
oh god.
nope.
Oh, well, so
And
do
and
you go
and
ahead.
this pe- and so yes, you always have to be careful about the audience, and you just realize that until you are locked in your hotel room, you are on.
Mhm.
If you're in the elevator, the person with you in the elevator could be the biggest gossip in the entire convention. So it's always you do not let the mask fall away, and until you are safely locked in your room. So you are on the entire time. Sometimes you're fake, but you have to be on.
Do you last GRL, I'm not sure if you remember this, you have to though. Last GRL also booked into the same hotel for a convention was a group of priests. I think they were priests. They were dressed up. It was either priests or rabbis. I forget. They were
No,
dressed.
they were Greek. They were Greek Orthodox.
Thank you so much. So at one point, I'm going from my room down to one of the convention halls, and I observe one of the incredibly popular PAs, personal assistants, walking down the hall with a blow up huge cock. I mean, it's got to be this big. She's got it over her shoulder, walking through a group of these Greek Orthodox guys. Oh, I died. I died laughing. The
Yes, but
things you
those
see.
those are moments we will never ever forget.
It was
That
fantastic.
moment is priceless. "Oh, come on, John. The one evening I shared an elevator down with me in jeans and my cowboy and my naked or half naked cowboy shirt. But you better believe I got plenty of Greek Orthodox side eye."
Oh, it was fantastic. I'll tell
You
you what,
just
those were some
smile
of
and
dude,
laugh,
they
and
were some of the nicest guys. I talked to several of
they
them in
were
the elevator.
incredibly nice. They,
Uh,
they were incredible, very much what you hope religious people would be.
Absolutely.
They
There was
never
no
said
judgment.
not only did they not say a word, they smiled and just talked
Yep.
as though it yes, as though I wasn't wearing a half-naked cowboy shirt.
Well, you do kinda stand out. Trey said another author shared an elevator with a few wearing a "Maybe Today Satan" T-shirt. Wow. So
Yep.
we're promoting Fire and Sand today. Now this is you were incredibly didn't you had a Carlisle Cops series, and that was incredibly popular. And this is book 1 in Carlisle Troopers, so this is kind of a spin-off series.
Yes, we have the Carlisle Cop series, and then we have the Carlisle Deputies series, and now we have the Carlisle Troopers series.
It's almost like the author decided, "Wow, this series is doing well."
Hey, don't argue. People love these stories, and who am I to argue with them?
Man, I'm not looking your golden goose, and
I love and I love writing them, so it's fun.
they're fantastic. I'm going to read the blurb here, and then we'll figure out exactly what we are doing. Fire and
Well,
Sand by Andrew Gray.
I'm gonna
Oh,
read Quentin. You're gonna read everybody else, so we're ready to go.
perfect. There you go. That is as much prep as we get right here, people. That is our prep for this live reading right there. Fire and Sand by Andrew Gray, a Carlisle Troopers novel. Can a single dad with a criminal past find love with the cop who pulled him over? When single dad Quentin Jackson gets stopped for speeding, he thinks he's lost both his freedom and his infant son, who's in the car he's been chasing down the highway. Amazingly, State Trooper Wyatt Nelson not only believes him, he radios for help and reunites Quentin with baby Callum. Wyatt should ticket Quentin, but something makes him look past Quentin's record. Watching him with his child proves he made the right decision. Quentin is a loving, devoted father, and he's handsome. Wyatt can't help but take a personal interest. For Quentin, getting temporary custody is a dream come true, or it would be if working full time and caring for an infant left time to sleep. As if that weren't enough, Callum's mother will do anything to get him back, including ruin Quentin's life. Fortunately, Quentin has Wyatt for help, support, and as much romance as a single parent can schedule. But when Wyatt's duties as a cop conflict with Quentin's quest for permanent custody, their situation becomes precarious. Can they trust each other and the courts to deliver justice and a happy ever after? All right, so you are Quentin, I am Wyatt, and everybody else. Is that right? Did I get that correct?
Yep.
All right, excellent. So I'm a state trooper. Maybe I should do my state trooper voice. This one, hey,
I'm
look at
sorry.
this.
You're a Pennsylvania state trooper.
Oh, sorry. I won't have a southern accent then, sir. This one, and I feel like I've influenced you here by giving you enough shit over the last 25 books. This one is dedicated to Dominic, who, and I think it should be Dominique. Am I saying, is it Dominique or Dominic? Am I fucking that
It's
up?
Dominic.
Thank you very much. Dominic.
It's Dominic.
I'm not very good with words, okay? To Dominic, who always comes to my rescue. Look at that. You finally dedicated a book to your husband after all these years.
Oh, please.
All right. Oh, hey, I forgot to ask you too. How did the garden thing go? Did it go all right?
Yeah, we did good.
Excellent. Did you win
It
awards,
it was supposed to
prizes?
go till 5 o'clock, and the rain held off till 4.
That that's that's you can plan the picnic, but you can't plan the weather or something like that. I think that's
You
what I've
got it.
heard.
You can plan the picnic, you can plan the flower show, but you can't plan the weather.
The flowers needed water. That's all it was. All right. Here we go. Chapter 1. Trooper Wyatt Nelson sipped his coffee and put the takeout cup in the holder before checking the radar screen again. He had dreamed of being a police officer since he was 8 years old. Somehow, he hadn't pictured himself sitting beside the highway watching his cars zipped by, looking for the ones going too fast. Not that he didn't think traffic control was important. Unsafe driving caused accidents and killed people, especially on the curved roads that surrounded Carlisle. The town had lowered the speed limit years ago because of fatal accidents, and drivers still seemed to believe the signs saying to drive 55 were only a suggestion. But as But he had always dreamed of more. He'd seen himself investigating and solving crimes. Troopers needed to pay their dues. After 3 years, Wyatt hoped that period might be coming to an end for him. Wyatt shook his head, forcing himself to stay alert and to dispel the state police line he had heard time and time again from his chief. Yeah, the traffic statistics were true enough, but spending the entire day by the side of the highway was about as interesting as watching grass grow. Being a police officer was supposed to be exciting work. Yoom! Yoom! 2 cars sped by in rapid succession. White flipped on his lights, turned on the siren, and pulled out. Fortunately, the highway was clear, and he stepped on it as he called in. 2 cars doing 85 plus, one chasing the other. His adrenaline was already pumping as he got up to speed. Lead car, white late model Lexus. Chaser, a red Camry, heading south on 81, passing exit 84. Request backup. He sped up until he was doing almost 95, but he still didn't make any headway. He could only hope to God that one of them didn't kill themselves or someone else if they lost control. Dispatch came right back, confirming backup. Wyatt continued driving, the world zipping past his car at an ever-increasing speed. The sirens screamed, and other drivers pulled the hell over to get out of the way. Clearing his way through traffic was made easier by the unnerving speed of the other 2 cars. The Camry seemed to be losing the race, and Wyatt gained on it and called in the plate to have it run. "Slow your vehicle down and pull over," he said through the speaker, staying behind the losing driver in this 2-man race. "Pull over," he repeated. The Camry finally broke speed, slowed down, and pulled off to the side of the road. Wyatt came to a stop right behind the other car. "Turn off your engine," he said through the speaker, and took a deep breath as he waited for the report on the license plate to come back. His onboard computer flashed the name of the registered owner, Quentin Jackson, age 26, along with a history of traffic and nonviolent offenses dating back to early adulthood. Great. This was going to be interesting. Wyatt didn't know what was going on, and he wasn't taking any chances. He got out of his car, gun and taser at the ready, and approached the vehicle slowly. The driver's window lowered, and Wyatt waited, ready to take cover if a weapon made an appearance. "Do you have any idea how fast you were going?" Wyatt asked.
I know. My son is in that car.
Instead of the smart-mouthed answer he'd expected, he got near panic.
That's my son's mother's car, and my son is in the back seat. He's 3 months old, and some asshole stole the car.
In an instant, everything changed. "Let me get this straight."
Some guy stole the Lexus, and my son's lunatic mother has left him in the back in his car seat because he was asleep. I'm telling you, someone stole the damn car with him in it. For God's sake, do something.
Huge blue eyes pleaded with him from inside the car. Wyatt grabbed his radio. "Possible kidnapped victim in backseat of white Lexus. 3-month-old baby boy in the car seat. I repeat, report of a child in the backseat of the white Lexus." Jesus Christ on a cross. "Acknowledged. Car reportedly passing exit 37, likely headed to Maryland border. All units respond. Issuing Amber Alert." Dispatch was on it, and Wyatt listened to the chatter. "What's your son's name?"
Callum Winters, he's 3 months old.
The disheveled blond man leaned against the steering wheel, his shoulders shaking.
Why would Jennifer just leave him in the damn car? I know that sometimes he can be fussy and hard to get to sleep, but to do that.
Wyatt made notes on what Mr. Jackson said. "Troopers have been alerted. In the meantime, let me see your license and registration." He had to know what he was dealing with, and regardless of everything else, he would be expected to do his job thoroughly. Quentin shakily handed him his license and fished the paperwork out of the glove compartment, the computer printout flapping as he handed it over.
This is the insurance.
His voice shook like a leaf in the wind. Troopers have closed the highway at mile 22, Dispatch reported, and as Wyatt checked the paperwork, he got an additional report. "White Lexus has been stopped, and child is unharmed and safe." Wyatt sighed as the tension eased away. He reported the status of Callum to Quentin, who broke down and cried. Wyatt returned to his car, read all the information he had, and asked for guidance on any citation to be given. He knew what had happened and what Quentin had done, but giving the guy a ticket, especially one for that speed, after he was trying to protect his son, seemed like adding insult to injury. Once he had his answer, he returned to Quentin's car and handed him his license and paperwork. "By all rights, I should give you one hell of a speeding ticket and possibly take you in for reckless endangerment, but given the circumstances, I'm going to let you off with a warning."
What about Callum? Where is he?
Troopers have taken him into custody, and child services have been called. A standard procedure in a case like this. They need to investigate with the mother why Callum was left unattended in a car. Quentin groaned, seeming wrung out.
I know you're only doing what you have to do, but he has to have been scared enough as it is. And now to have strangers be with him?
They're still at the scene up ahead. Like I said, child services will be called, but if you follow me, I'll lead you up to where your son is. Wyatt returned to his car and pulled out when it was safe for both of them to enter the highway. He kept an eye on the car behind him as they stayed with the flow of traffic. Once it slowed, as they approached where the Lexus sat on the side of the road, Wyatt moved out of the lane and traveled down the shoulder to where the other troopers had gathered. He parked and directed Quentin to do the same.
That's my son.
Quentin said as he hurried to where Louise Graves, one of Wyatt's fellow troopers, held the child carrier. He had his son out of the carrier and in his arms in seconds. "We have a number of questions for you," Louise said sternly. It was her way. Quentin immediately went on defense.
Callum's mother left him in the back seat of the car because he was sleeping. I was on my way to pick him up when I saw a man
He held his son closer, tears in his eyes.
get in the car and take off with it. I chased him to try to get my son back.
He was nearly frantic once again and turned away from all of them, rocking his child slowly to try to soothe the now crying baby.
There should be a diaper bag somewhere. I hope, maybe in the trunk of the car.
"We've been trying to get in touch with the child's mother," Louise gruffed. "Is she your wife?" Quentin shook his head.
God, no, she was my one-time mistake. I tried it with a woman one time, and we had Callum.
He smiled down at the squirming bundle in his arms.
Jennifer isn't particularly motherly. I think her parents put a lot of pressure on her to keep Callum.
I'm sorry, I was laughing at your line there, so give me one second. He smiled as he held his son's hand. It looked to Wyatt like Quentin had a real bond with him.
I wanted to take him, but I don't know if I'm a much better parent.
He met Wyatt's gaze with such intensity in his blue eyes that it immediately got under Wyatt's professional facade.
I haven't exactly been a saint myself.
"Donald from Child Services is on his way. It's a weekend, but I had his number and he said he'd be here as soon as possible," Louise reported. Wyatt knew that the gruffness and cold professionalism were just acts she used to cover up the fact that she was a huge bowl of mush on the inside, especially when children were involved. She and her partner had 2 kids and were apparently considering having a third. Wyatt half expected a fight from Quentin.
Good, something has to change. Callum deserves better.
He still held his son, and Wyatt started to wonder. "Have there been any word from the mother?" Wyatt asked Louise. "No. Officers have been sent to the house, but no one was home." She drew closer. What the hell kind of mother leaves a little baby like that and goes off to whatever the hell else she thinks she has to do? Anger flared in her eyes for only a second, and then her badass persona slipped back into place. "At least the father is here," Wyatt commented. She met his gaze, and Wyatt knew what she was thinking. This guy's record was unlikely to put him up for Father of the Year. He did go after his son and tried to get him back. Wyatt could only imagine the level of panic any parent would feel if their child had been taken the way Callum had. What would you do if it had been one of your kids? Louise took a split second. "I'd make sure they never found the damned body." He'd expected no less from her. I don't blame her one fucking bit.
No.
A car pulled up behind the others alongside the road as a tow truck came to haul away the Lexus. Traffic was flowing well on the freeway now. A man got out of the car and approached them, smiling at Louise. "Donald Ickle," he said to Wyatt. "I'm the child services supervisor for the county." Wyatt took the lead, explaining what happened, at least as far as they knew. Then Quentin took over, telling them what he found when he had gone to pick up Callum. He answered all their questions, holding Callum to him. Oops.
Is there someplace other than the side of the highway that we can go? I need to get him fed and cared for.
"I found this in the trunk of the car before it was towed." Louise handed Callum a diaper bag. This will be me, I guess. "I agree.
Yeah.
What I'm going to propose is that we head back into Carlisle,"
I need to get Callum home.
Quentin said.
I'll give you my address. If you want to come there, you're welcome to. I'll answer any questions you have.
The scene around them was clearing. "Is that okay with you?" Donald asked Wyatt, and he nodded. "Then we'll meet at Quentin's house in half an hour." He turned to Quentin. "As a word of warning, I have every right to remove Callum from your custody and place him in emergency protection. Don't make me use it." Wyatt figured Quentin was getting the icicle treatment that Donald was famous for. Wyatt suspected he'd be cold too with the things Donald saw every single day.
I won't.
Quentin said firmly.
I want what's best for Callum.
He placed his son back in his car seat and carried him to the Camry. Wyatt went along, verified that the baby was secured properly, and then let Quentin enter the flow of traffic. He followed on the freeway. They turned around to head back north and then got off at Hanover Street and headed toward town. Quentin pulled up in front of a tiny row house on the north side of town. Wyatt parked behind him and got out as another car pulled to a stop just up the block. A woman, about Quentin's age, in yoga pants and a top at least one size too big, got out of the passenger side and charged up to Quentin. She looked ferocious, with her hair all askew, lips drawn into a line. The car pulled away, and Wyatt noticed the lighted lift sign in the window. "What the hell do you think you're doing? Where's my car? What did you do with it?" She reached for the baby carrier. "Stop, ma'am," Wyatt said. "What's going on, and what's he done now?" she demanded. "I want my baby back. I'm going to report you to Child Services and make sure you never see Callum again." Her eyes blazed.
Jennifer, Child Services will be here in 15 minutes or so.
Quentin unlocked the door and went inside. She went to follow, but he barred the way.
You need to stay outside.
"What? Where's my car? What did you do with it?" "Are you Jennifer Winters?" Wyatt asked. Yes. What of it?" Wyatt wondered how Quentin could have possibly picked this harpy to experiment with. "Your car was stolen, and since you left your baby in the back seat, he was taken along with the car. Callum is okay, but Mr. Jackson was trying to get him back." She gave him a cold stare, but that was nothing, and Wyatt waited her out. "What was your son doing in the car unattended?" "He'd finally gone to sleep, and I didn't want to wake him. My neighbor picked up some things at the store for me, and we got to talking. I was just next door." She made it sound like it wasn't a big deal. "I knew Quint was coming over to pick him up, so—" She shrugged. "You figured you'd leave the baby alone?" Now it was his turn to glare. "And the result is that your car was stolen and your child abducted." The smugness in her expression began to fade. God, this person was a real piece of work. Donald pulled up and Wyatt took charge, explaining what he had discovered and what he had already been told. He had enough evidence for a child endangerment charge and requested another vehicle as backup. He had the idea that as soon as he told Jennifer exactly what was going to happen, she would realize this was going to be a lot more than just an inconvenience and become a much bigger problem to deal with. "I want to see Callum. He's my child, and I have a right to see that he's okay," Jennifer demanded. "Quentin is Callum's biological father?" Donald asked. "Yes, and I have the paternity test to prove it. Why? Is the Swisher trying to claim that he isn't the father? I have proof, no matter what he says about not liking women," she sneered. Wyatt wanted to step in to say that talking that way to another gay man was not going to get her anywhere. "That's enough. We were only verifying Callum's paternity. Donald, go on inside and take care of what you need to. I'll stay out here with the mother until you're done." He stepped back and Donald went inside. "I know my rights, and you can't keep me away from my child. I want to see Callum, and he's coming home with me. I have custody of him, from the court, and you can't override that." She put her hands on her hips as though she knew she was right. "Ma'am, I need you to calm down and just relax. A report has been made, and it must be investigated. That's the law. You need to be patient." He crossed his arms over his chest and stayed between her and the door in case she tried to bust inside. A car from the local police arrived, as did a second trooper. "Hey, Wyatt," Kip Rogers said as he got out of his patrol car. "I heard you were handling something here in town. Just thought I'd see if I could assist." Kip was an amazing officer Wyatt had gotten to know since his patrol area included Carlisle. "Thanks, I appreciate that." He stepped to the side and spoke softly with Kip about what he expected to take place. She's going to fight like a banshee when she realizes what's going to happen. Donald called Wyatt inside, and Kip agreed to stay with Jennifer. "Everything is—" This is Donald. "Everything is good here.
Yep.
The home is clean, and he has supplies and a proper place for Callum to stay. He is the natural father, so placing Callum here is no issue." "Thanks. I'll leave you to it." He stepped outside and faced Jennifer. "What's happening? I want my child. You can't just take him from me." "Jennifer Winters, you are being charged with child endangerment for leaving Callum in the car. I'm placing you under arrest." He read her rights, and she came unglued. Wyatt cuffed her as a stream of screamed obscenities bounced off the fronts of the homes across the street. Wyatt felt sorry for them. but he got Jennifer into the car and closed the door to cut off her yelling. Donald and Quentin came outside, and Quentin had Callum in his arms. "If there's anything we can do to help, just let either myself or Donald know," Wyatt said. He gave him a card and got into the car, grateful that Jennifer had decided to stop her yelling. Hopefully, Callum would be in a good home and well taken care of by his father. Wyatt's last thought was that it was a shame that he was unlikely to ever see Quentin again. For some reason, that made him sad, until Jennifer began cursing him out and distracted him once again. You had to put in the bit about that being the only time he ever slept with a woman. You had to do that, right? That was, it's the only time. God, I
Hey,
love you.
it only takes once.
I love you, you fucking brat.
I mean, come on. That is an absolute truism, just as much as just the tip, dear, just the tip.
It's great. I'm assuming that this came out today. Is that correct?
This came out today. Yes, it is
Excellent.
out. It is available. I hope you love it. It's
Excellent.
it's a fun story. I had a ball writing it, and the second one's already written.
Ta-da!
Fire and Glass is coming out in 4 or 5 months.
So I got to ask, have you done 1,000,000 words in 1 year since that year?
Actually, I did it for 3 years in a row,
Jesus Christ, man. That is brutal.
or
That's
maybe it was 4 years,
how many
something
keyboards
like
do
that.
you how many keyboards do you go through in a year? That's a lot of fucking
I
time.
was I still go through a computer about once every 2 or 3 years. The keyboards wear out.
Mhm. No doubt.
I mean, it gets to the point that I can't see the letters on the keys anymore because they just wear off.
No doubt. Well, and I thought, I'm a musician in a past life. I still have calluses from guitar playing. And those have lasted a while.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the ends of your fingertips, man. They got to be like hard as nails.
No, no, it's
Really?
just typing. It's not.
Just, just that's what I
Mm,
imagine. You just type it away
no, it's more like this. It's not.
furiously going at it. He only slept with one woman. Anyways, dude, thank you. You did fantastic. Good job. This is out today. I'm assuming you're coming back in a couple weeks. Are you going to be back around? What's coming up?
I've got a book coming out next month called The Doctor's Wish.
The Doctor's Wish. And what date is that coming out?
I don't know yet. Probably in the middle of the month. As soon as I actually have the date, I will send you the note.
Excellent. Cool. Well, we appreciate you coming on. We all love you. Have fun. Wave at the camera, and we'll port this over to
Bye,
Jane to get
everybody.
to you. See you soon. Have